and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie and television discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais, and I'm joined by sweet Johnson Kovacs from the internet.
Boba Fett.
And, of course, Bruce Leslie.
Hey, everybody.
Oh, boy.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? How's it going?
Bruce got a new mixer, everybody, and we're all doomed, apparently. But you're not doomed because you've tuned in on quite an episode here. We're doing things a little bit differently this episode, and we'll get into that in just a couple of few. But first of all, man, oh man, we got to say thank you. We have to say thank you to everybody who supports this show over at patreon.com/HMP. I think we're looking at about 45 people helping promote and support this show right now. And we'd like you to be like those fine people. So head on over to patreon.com/HMP. And right there, you can be part of the program, man. Get yourself the Dinger Zone. That's the most important thing. Am I right? So today we talked about the Snyder Cut, if that's an actual real thing or not. We also talked about ladies in film. That's right. Sometimes we get, pretty smart and intellectual over there. Right, guys?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, for us.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, all things are being fair. But do head on over to patreon.com/HMP, pre-show, post-show, and, of course, the Dinger Zone. We appreciate all of you fine people for helping promote this show. Let's do it, boys, because we got a little bit of mailbag here. Ooh, fancy. Let's open it up.
Mail's here.
Because my starring the system in emails doesn't work right sometimes, we have a long overdue email from Matt. Sean?
Yes, this is from Matthew Van Diver, also known as Secular Man at HMP. And he writes, I was all set to agree with Anti-Bible Man because although my favorite Golden Age comic book character is the original Green Lantern, Alan Scott, my second favorite, just on premise alone, is Madame Fatale. Fatal? Madame Fatal? Bruce?
Yeah. Fatal or Fatale.
Okay. I can work with Secular Man, though. In fact, I think the artist bug has bitten me, so thanks, Sean. My beloved Return of Swamp Thing got outvoted, but seriously, this was a great episode that I had a lot of fun listening to. Maybe next time, Swampy. Now to check out that first episode of Watchmen. I'll let you know if I have any theme song ideas. Believe it or not, we're talking Watchmen. We're the boys from HMP. Oh, I see. Basically what he's doing is he's doing the Greatest American Hero theme, but with the believe it or not, we're talking Watchmen.
That's perfect.
We're the boys from HMP. Yeah, it's pretty good. That's pretty great, Matthew. Thank you, man.
Well,
thank you, Secular Man. You've struck again.
We'll be sure to have Bruce dress up in that outfit and sing the song for us on the website or something.
All I need's the wig.
He's like, I've got the rest. Don't worry about that.
I want to be the old angry FBI guy.
Oh, yeah.
Next email here comes to us from Tim. This is, I'm surprised that it's been this long and no one's actually noticed this until now. This one's entitled Dark Knight / Dark Knight Rises. Hey, fellas. First, a big shout out to your excellent work on the Redford administration. Both the show itself and your podcast are outstanding thus far. Keep up the good work, and fellow HMPers, give it a listen. Thanks, Tim. Now, on to my current conundrum. I've been rewatching the Christopher Nolan Batman series recently for the first time in years. After I watched Batman Begins, I re-listened to your excellent episode about it, episode 111, and man, you boys were on that night. As I continued watching the films, I looked through your back catalog to find your podcast about The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. I find myself feeling like I've gone crazy. I could have sworn that you covered the other two Nolan films, but I can't find them anywhere. Is this some sort of Mandela effect phenomenon where I tricked myself into believing that you've covered them?
That's awesome.
You've covered a lot of Batman over all these years. Did you ever cover them, or am I missing them in the searches? If you haven't covered them, please, will you sometime? Donor in distress, Tim, a.k.a. The Long Hauler. And again, these emails coming from the Patreon people. You got to love those guys. Patreon.com/HMP.
I like the idea that we split the universe.
It is weird. And here's the thing. We always kind of, especially with Dark Knight, maybe not so much with Dark Knight Rises, but I think Dark Knight Rises had just finished up when we had started the podcast, right? Or close thereafter?
No. It predated our podcast by a bit. The Dark Knight Rises, there's no good reason why we haven't covered the Dark Knight Rises. The Dark Knight we've kind of been sitting on.
Yeah,
we set up and that was one of the first things when we talked about when the show started 6 years ago, where we were saying, we kind of want to hold off on the Dark Knight because obviously it's a big film. It's something that, everybody considers to be one of, if not the greatest superhero film of all time. And frankly, we didn't want to, blow our load in the first season and just be like, well, no Dark Knight anymore. No reason to subscribe to this podcast if people would unsubscribe. And so now we're just like, hey, maybe one day we'll cover the Dark Knight. Please subscribe just so you don't miss that episode. That's the theory I'm going with right now.
I think we should go ahead and just commit to doing the Dark Knight Rises sometime soon.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
especially since my real name is also Robin and I never use it.
It's true. Sometimes you have to find out the mystery all the way to the end. But we'll cover that one for sure. And hey, maybe in 2020. We'll pull out the Dark Knight. Who knows? But or maybe we could put some numbers over on that over at patreon.com/HMP, and maybe when we get to a particular area, we might could start.
That's an unfair one to put on the Patreon because that one's going to win every single time.
No. I wasn't.
No matter what, you can put it up against anything.
No. That wasn't what I was. I was talking about. I was just saying that if they basically put the however many numbers that we can get to on Patreon, and then we'll actually have the Dark Knight. So we can do it like that. All right, so without delay, though, at this point, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get into our Mandalorian discussion here. Do remember that there's a little bit of salty language, not too much. Bruce kind of admonished me a little bit once we got into it and everything, so hopefully it's not too awful bad, but we just want to let you know there just in advance, just in case. So check out Mandalorian 30 Questions, and we're going to meet you on the other side of that. So see you there. Welcome to Mandalorian 30 Questions, the only podcast to ask 30 of the internet's most burning questions about the Disney Plus series, The Mandalorian. I'm your host, Adam Portrais, and joining me today, your local scoundrel, Sweet Shanzi from the internet.
I am a scoundrel.
And the rotting corpse of Salacious Crumb's cousin, Bruce Leslie.
Hello, I have spoken.
And we have 30 questions in only 1 hour with which to answer them. These are questions that we come up with, or you, our valued listeners, can come up with them too. Tweet us at the Mandalorian30Q on Twitter, or email us at Mandalorian30Q@gmail.com. And, we'll get you on the show here, man. We really appreciate that. And, of course, as always, links are in these show notes. So with that, gentlemen, 30 questions. I will start off here. In our preview episode, Sean said that this show would be a down and dirty Western. Have they delivered that so far?
I think they have.
Yeah. How else would you describe this show? It's a Western in space.
and the first thing I thought when I was watching the first couple of scenes here was like, wow, this is like the what's it called? The Mammoth No Name trilogy, the Fistful of Dollars, a few dollars more. And then when I look and people have basically called that out, like there was no insight there. And I started having thoughts like Seven Samurai became the Magnificent Seven, and then Star Wars really borrowed a lot from the Magnificent Fortress or whatever, the samurai movie. And now it's turning into a Western. I don't know. I think it delivered. I like it.
The Magnificent Hidden Fortress.
Yeah. Something like that. But yeah, man, bounty hunters. They're cowboys. Jonah Hex.
To me, everything about this is really awesome. I was super shocked at this episode, and because again, I knew really nothing about it going in. I didn't really look at. I think I watched the first trailer, but that was about it. And I didn't read cast members outside of a handful of them that we kind of mentioned on the previous show. But man, oh man, I can't believe that this show got off to a heck of a start. If you could watch it on Disney Plus, I heard some people had some issues.
Yes,
I did not.
Bad days. Yeah, I did well. I was able to watch it between work and surgery. It was great.
There were a couple. Was it on himself? Was it on others? You'll never know. But to me, it was, I saw it early in the morning. There was only like one or two little hiccups at the beginning, but not too shabby. So it looks like, thankfully, it's not hitting everybody. Bruce, let's move on to question 2.
Can we all agree to call the main character Mandy until his true name is revealed?
Absolutely. I think we should call the show The Mandy.
Well, yeah, because I need something to say other than the main character, the unnamed Mandalorian. I'm going to call him Mandy if that's okay with you guys. So
I love it, Bruce.
It's
absolutely.
It kind of works, and if we can put a little Barry Manilow somewhere in this show, I always say the better. So
why ask for more Mandy when you can have Mandy more? Let's go.
Hey,
this guy over here. The first episode we have him on, and he's just going.
Everybody
off to
duck comedy coming through.
Sean, let's get number 3.
Number 3, what's the better catchphrase? I have spoken, or that is acceptable?
I think I have spoken, because there's no judgment with that. That's just a statement of fact. Like, hello, how are you? I have spoken.
Yeah, but at the same time, too, if you work, if you're in charge of people at your job, and some of those people are not necessarily always the best and the brightest that the world gives you. I think that's the nicest thing that you can say is that's acceptable. That's about as much praise as you're going to get out of me unless you've done something real good.
Sean, I might be wrong here, but I think Adam would have very few occasions to use the catchphrase that is acceptable.
Yes, but I have spoken. He could say an awful lot.
Yes.
Can I go down a nerd hole for a second?
Please.
So IG-88. Right. IG-88 was one of those characters from Empire Strikes Back that is kind of like super, super fringy. You know, he was no one's favorite character. I don't care who you are. You did not love that character coming out of Empire Strikes Back.
You've made fun of him on Robot Chicken, everything.
Right. But what ended up happening is that IG-88 became one of the coolest characters because of the Nintendo 64 game Shadows of the Empire, where it was like spooky and weird, and they used him perfectly, and they made him move in a way that you didn't think he could move in the game, where he has 360 view, he can shoot both guns at the same time, and being able to see that live, being able to see that in an episode of a show, that it is so glorious. And it's not, I know this is an IG-88. I know this is IG-11, but we're going to see IG-12, IG-13. I mean, we're going to be seeing all of these. We're going to be seeing this character again in just different iterations.
And we have to understand, too, there's going to be a sizable part of the folks talking about this that are going to be talking about that shootout that IG-88 and Boba Fett had. I mean, that's just going to happen.
Yes.
Oh, I am sure from the layperson that this is all going to be that Boba Fett show.
Mm-hmm. It's like your uncle that calls all vampires Draculas. Like somebody's like, man, there's a whole planet of Boba Fett's out there.
A lot of Draculas out there.
That's right. And they call it the Walmarts.
Number 4, Adam.
They talk about not taking off the helmet no less than 2 or 3 times. Are they setting the table up for a question about why he never takes it off? Like the inevitable question from new watchers, why he never takes it off? Or is it a sure thing that the head is coming off before the end of the series, or the helmet, rather?
I don't think the helmet's ever coming off.
Yeah, I think that I think that that's absolutely the right way to play it. What Sean said. I don't want to talk too much about prequels, but I think it would be cool if they never had shown us what was under that helmet the way they did.
Right.
But I do think that, this is that setup of doing that legwork. That is that question that audiences will have of, is he ever going to take the thing off? And they tell you right up front, no, like I said, no less than 2 times. I think it's 3. But they go, no, we're not taking it off. I'm not taking this helmet off. Shut up. It's staying on.
He's basically Frank. Like they catch him in the shower with the helmet still on.
And so like, well, oh no, I'm sorry. I'm just freshening up. Thank you. Someone's in here.
This is just a straightforward question. When is this taking place in relation to the movies?
It's 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
That's what I was understanding.
Okay. So how many years after the Battle of Yavin, or the standard time there? I can't remember how much time passed in between those 3 movies.
I can't remember either. I want to say it's 10 years, but I don't know.
Okay, so but 5 years after Return of the Jedi helps kind of make it clear what some of the things we're going to see here mean and what they don't mean, and what what are possibilities and what are not possibilities. I mean, anybody from the original cast showing up, save for some Rogue One shenanigans, that's off the table if it's only 5 years after Jedi.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
Question 6, me. If Adam had the option to self-destruct, we all know he would do it, but where would he do it?
It would be in a movie theater with an incorrect aspect ratio on the screen.
That's incorrect, because honestly, it would be that makes me angry. That does, but patrons make me more angry than.
Of course,
yeah.
The public is always going to be the worst thing about a job where you have to serve the public. It's the worst. It's the worst.
But even when I do it for pleasure.
Which is worse, aspect ratio problems or when they got the sound through the wrong channels?
Oh, God. Sound 100%. I've gone into movies where the center channel, all it is woofer, so you just hear this. Or if you go in there and it's all tweeter and all you hear is a really high end and there's it's awful. I just have the worst experience and the worst luck with everything. That's just, and yes, that would, after they looked at you at the theater and said, oh, okay, we don't know how to fix that. That's when you blow up.
There you go. There you go.
Thank you.
Number 7, Adam.
How long do you think it took the crew to clean up the amount of jizz Brian Posehn probably expelled during acting in a live-action Star Wars show?
I think it's easier just to move to a new location.
We've wrapped, and then moving on.
Yeah, I think the interior of that land speeder probably looked like a kill room where there's just plastic everywhere.
Get out the EV light here, man. It's not good.
They just rolled it up after he left and threw it in the dumpster.
I did see a picture of him on Twitter and stuff, and he was just like, my family is sleeping, but I'm here just, massively geeking out that I'm on a Star Wars thing, and with just a smile on his face 10 feet wide. Come on, that's got to be amazing. I mean, and good for him. He's not in like a prequel or something. He's in something that looks like it's going to be pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
What's the chances, like in terms of percentile, what are the chances that he brought his own lightsaber from home and it was under that robe he was wearing all the Star Wars?
Just in case. I'm not saying that we're going to do it. I brought it in case you wanted to do something. That's, it's up to you. I'm just leaving it on the table, letting you know that we're raring to go if need be.
They told him not to bring it. He snuck it in the old prison wallet.
Bruce, question number 8.
Was Nick Nolte wearing a mask, or does he just look like that now?
What's kind of funny is that while it is the voice, like the face did kind of look like him, which was
look
kind
like
of
him a lot.
It was
it's not
super
him.
creepy.
I thought he was taller.
He's not in the makeup. That's not him. But the face, they really did make it look like him,
right? It's like kind of
that's my point. Like it's just close enough that I could believe maybe that's Nick Nolte with a little magnification on him.
Do you think that Nick Nolte took a look at the mask and he's like, hey, what's going on?
Hey, what the hell is this?
I don't think he even knows that those lines he read were for The Mandalorian. He just got a $750 check in the mail with some lines to read.
He's very curious as to where it came from. It's just like, where did all this money come from?
I was in a Star Wars.
A what?
He ad-libbed I have spoken because they kept wanting a second take, and he was like, no, I have spoken.
Can we use that? I think we can use that.
Question 9, Sean.
We see Bosk's species, the Trandoshans, a bunch in this first episode. Will we actually see Bosk?
Now, as a probably the most Star Wars lay of the lot here, I'm not sure what that is.
Bosk is the second most awesome bounty hunter in Empire Strikes Back.
Based entirely on action figure awesomeness.
Is that the Tyrannosaurus head guy?
Yes, it is.
That's
okay. He is a lizard man.
Yeah.
And he has the cool jumpsuit, and he looks very scary indeed. And there's a bunch of them in this pilot episode. When he walks into the bar at first blush, everybody turns around and there's like 3 different Trandoshans in there. And so I was like, oh man, are we going to see Bosk? Because he gets name checked also in Solo, A Star Wars Story. So I'm wondering if they're gearing us up for that. If we're going to see Bosk, which would be great.
Why do I want to see him like operating a microwave? I don't know. It's what came to mind.
Operating a microwave.
I don't know why. I just think like lizard head man in that jumpsuit and everything operating a microwave. I don't know why it sounds interesting to me, but I'd watch it.
I don't know. If we see Bosk, it's like they gotta be wise with what actual characters we see. So he's probably one they could get away with. I've got another one in mind, but that's for later in the episode.
Right.
Number 10, Adam.
Werner Herzog said he felt no pressure working with producer Jon Favreau. Quote, I do not know what other films he has made, end quote. Do we expect anything less?
Absolutely not.
Who was the director that made Bad Lieutenant, the original Bad Lieutenant?
Keep talking.
Anyway, yeah, because Werner Herzog made Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans, or something like that, right?
That's correct.
Yes.
Good call on remembering that title.
And then they said, well, what do you think about Bad Lieutenant? Were you a big fan? Is that why you made this? He said, Bad Lieutenant, what's that? And they said, it's a film directed by something that's clearly a man's name. And
Abel Ferrara.
Yeah, they said it's a movie directed by Abel Ferrara. And he goes, Abel Ferrara? I've never heard of her.
Oh, yeah. I heard that quote before. Never heard of her.
Yeah, so that's Werner Herzog. He thinks he's a true treasure, I guess.
I wonder if he knows he's
charmer.
I wonder if he knows he's in Star Wars. Does he know what Star Wars is? Has he seen these things?
I mean, didn't he make a movie about people carrying a boat over a mountain? Like it was a true story or something where a bunch of people died, but then when he made the movie, more people died making the movie than in the actual tragedy he was documenting or something.
Oh,
Craziness.
my God.
That sounds right.
That sounds right.
I hope he shows up more in this series. I hope this isn't all the Herzog we get.
Yeah, I think that's another one that is just like, I feel like you don't get Werner Herzog to do one scene and then just kind of chuck him.
Definitely not. He's
Has
all
he ever
throughout.
acted before? I mean,
Yeah.
Okay, I think of him not as an actor. I think of him as behind the camera.
He was a great. I forget if it was the first or second one, but he's a villain in the Jack Reacher film, in either one of those Tom Cruise ones, and he's real great in that.
Oh, cool, man. Well, maybe he'll start showing up in more stuff on Disney Plus.
He does.
Like
He's got
2 of High School Musical, the musical, the series.
He's got a little Bruce Willis in him, though, because a lot of acting I remember, now that I'm seeing him a lot and thinking about what he's doing, he is sitting a lot in the roles that he's in. I feel like we may have another Bruce Willis on our hands here. We will see when he comes back. I'm sure he's coming back. Please, God, Werner, be standing. Please be standing.
And surely you remember him in Parks and Rec when he was in Parks and Rec.
That I do remember, but Parks and Rec's like one of those things that you get non-actors to make cameos. It's no big deal.
True.
The question number 11. The first 10 minutes of the episode had me thinking this series was going to be a galactic midnight run. Did you guys think that, and would you consider that a bad thing?
No, but we've already had Intergalactic Midnight Run. It's Thor Ragnarok. But I don't think it's a bad thing at all. Midnight Run is great, and when I was growing up, TV Guide called it one of the 100 greatest movies ever made. It is definitely one of the movies. I don't know if it's one of the best movies ever made.
It's one of the most movies made, that's for sure.
But I mean, this would have been really on the nose. The bounty hunter with like the nebbish mark that he's trying to take in, and if it was just banter between them, I think 9 episodes would have got a bit much. I'm glad it wasn't an intergalactic midnight run, but I was watching it, and I've still got like Joker is our comic book version of the King of Comedy, and I thought, okay, so now another De Niro picture here is being remade, but thank goodness it wasn't.
No, Thor Ragnarok already made that movie.
Yeah,
who was the bounty hunter in that one?
There isn't a bounty hunter, but it's 2 people who don't really like each other on the run. I mean, it's
Midnight Run is actually a bounty hunter trying to get his bounty to its location.
Yes, if you're going note for note, you're correct.
That's what I
but
was
it's
worried.
still
It's
the
like
same setup.
I was worried this was going to be the note for note version.
Well, I'm glad it isn't.
And for the record, I would pay extra if American Airlines would freeze me in carbonite before they forced me to fly on the
This guy's had a hard on for American Airlines for about 2 weeks now. Granted, for good reason, but I love that he doesn't let it go either.
You have hibernation sickness. It will wear off eventually.
They tell you that, and then you go to Hawaii, they put that lay around your neck as they say that to you. The hot Hawaiian sun will thaw you out eventually. You'll be fine.
Question 12, Sean.
Number 12. What do you think the stormtroopers and Werner Herzog talk about when no one else is around? Because they're just hanging out in there when he opens the door. Like, they turn around and they're like taken by surprise.
Oh.
It looks like they're having a conversation.
Do you realize that there is so much dirt on this planet? No one has any pledge. Just wipe a surface down every once in a while.
It's probably like how cell service has gone down the tube since the Empire crumbled.
Oh, yeah, I bet. I bet.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. They do mention at some point about the Empire falling and everything like that. You know, you don't think about the services that the Empire was also offering and how
Yeah.
they had all the, healthcare plans.
More interesting is like what was Werner Herzog actually saying to those extras in stormtrooper gear? Like I bet that is the more interesting story, because I read somewhere that they actually got guys from the 501st to be extras as stormtroopers.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that is great. But I can imagine like you're just a super big fan with the 501st. And like you're going to be in a scene with a huge star, a mega star. You can't wait. It's Werner Herzog.
Let me ask you boys a question. Are we having Sbarro for lunch today? I feel like I just want to know what mundane Werner Herzog conversation sounds like. That would be fantastic. Just sitting around, just waiting for the action call.
Or it'd probably be something more like, life is meant to be endured, not enjoyed.
Ryan Johnson, I've never heard of her. All right, number 13, Adam.
Do you know if this is the first time we've ever heard about a toilet in Star Wars?
The answer is yes when it comes to this sort of thing. So, live action, yes. Extended universe, no. There's... Anyway, the answer to your question is yes. It's the first time we've ever actually seen with our own eyes a turlet in Star Wars.
It's kind of amazing.
Evacuate my thorax sounds like a phrase I would use too, so I like that part. We see all of these shows, and I don't care if it's like this or, any other space show or shows like 24 where no one ever poops within a 24-hour period, or even pees for that matter, much less him just going like, hey, I know you got a toilet on this spaceship. Let me go drop a pee him. How did the fat guy on Lost stay fat so long?
Oh, that's a very good question.
They bring up that question on the show. I watched the episode.
Yeah, and they don't really answer it very well.
They don't.
They kind of like, look, shut up. That's our answer.
Do you think they use toilet paper or 3 shells?
Oh man, I'm hoping it's 3 shells.
Ow.
All
right, question 14. Did you guys know Action Jackson was in the show, or were you as surprised as I was when he showed up?
No, we knew. We talked about it on the last episode.
I didn't know Carl Weathers was going to be here, and it was I had to rewind it too. Like I first watched through, I had to stop, rewind, and look and say, "Man, this is awesome."
Yeah. I gotta say,
the best thing I've seen him in since Arrested Development.
He was not bad at all. He was actually. I mean, it's a small scene. There's not a ton for him to do, but his presence and delivery and everything was good.
I feel like he's going to be around. I don't think that was a one and done.
No,
maybe not a one and done for sure, but I mean, in the little time that we've gotten, I suppose I could say.
I'm going on record right now. I'm going to buy the first Grief action figure I find.
It comes with its own Colt 45,
and he's got. You say that guy, constantly. Man. That's the wrong guy.
Oh, whatever.
That's it, though.
They're all those smooth guys from the 70s. I can't get them all correct.
I've got a Rambo action figure. Just imagine if Rambo and Action Jackson got in a fist fight. That'll be great when I get this action figure.
There's got to be an Apollo Creed action figure. There's Rocky action figures.
Oh, yeah. Maybe there is. I've got the Creed Jr. action figure, but not the main Creed.
Creed Jr.
Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, but I don't know that that's how they would label the figure.
Adonis Creed.
Creed Jr.
It's Lil Creed, Lil apostrophe Creed.
You know how we like the littles. What are we on here?
15, Sean.
15.
Question 15. 2 Star Wars Christmas special references in this first episode, because you got the tuning fork gun. That's from the Christmas special. And also they mentioned Life Day, also from the Christmas special. So now the over-under on the rest of the series for Christmas special references, I'm going to put at 3.5 references. Are you under or over? Who you got?
Are we talking about post from this point, 3.5?
From this point forward, 3.5 more references. So 5.5 references overall.
I'm taking the under.
I'm going to pick the over just because if you look hard enough, somebody might build up some cockamamie connection that's maybe not that strong. So I'll take over, but I think it's just going to be 4. The bigger question is why aren't they now? I can understand if they don't want to stream the whole Christmas special, and maybe Disney doesn't have the rights. I don't know how complicated those rights are, but why don't they at least have the animated Boba Fett segment to stream since they're launching The Mandalorian?
It's a good point. They should.
But they got to
be viewed on Christmas morning. Who knows?
They got to keep you, continuing to subscribe and everything. They're not going to give you it all at one swath. But then again, looking at the number of things that are available in this service, they're not skimping.
Do you remember when Life Day was, Sean? Like in the Earth
Christmas.
calendar? No, but in the Earth calendar, it debuted like the Christmas special aired really early, like November 17th or something. And it'd be great if Friday was some kind of anniversary for that.
Oh, that would be great.
All right. Question 16. Guys, do you think God exists in this universe? And if he does, why would he design a bipedal creature with a body that size only to have said creature be ridden by humanoids?
First of all, I want to applaud the scholastic nature of this question.
Thank you.
There's a whole lot of education in this question, Adam. First of all, I don't think God exists in this universe, because people are breaking the laws of physics like crazy in this universe. So I'm going to say no.
And with that design, it kind of backs it up.
I'm going to say that this bipedal creature with this body size to be ridden by humans would be more likely in a universe where someone like God could just create a useless creature to be ridden. Because I'm real curious how they survived evolutionarily with those baby arms. Maybe it didn't work out so well for the T-Rex.
Maybe we breed them like dogs or something like that. We just kind of I want this bit and that bit and the other bit, and you just kind of make them your own little monster.
Yeah, so if it's a domesticated animal, it doesn't make sense that they're running wild and you have to capture them. But yeah, that's a thought.
And again, we're not taking any helmets off, no matter what. Just want to let you boys know, I ain't taking off this helmet. Stop trying to push
Also, as many times as he got thrown, the last thing you should be advising anyone to do is to take their helmet off riding one of these things. It's true. Like, the reason you're struggling to ride that motorcycle on the highway is you have your helmet on, son.
Nick Nolte's character does not fear any lawsuits or retribution of any kind. Should there be an injury on his property?
Yeah. Oh man, I was just picturing Gary Busey when he said, "Take your helmet off." Number 17. Who's been changing that Baby Yoda's diaper for 50 years?
Someone's clearly taking care of Baby Yoda, because that is a very clean baby.
And he was swaddled and kind of stuff, it looked like.
Yep.
50 years, too. I mean, that means it predates the prequels and everything, right? Baby Yoda's been around for a while.
Well, no, I mean, 50 years, again, the droid himself says it. It's just like, hey, aging ain't different, is different for everybody else. It's not going to be the same sort of one lap around the planet kind of thing. I think he ages like and I've always thought this for all of the Star Wars stuff, is Yoda just ages like a dog. That's why he's, kind of youngish looking in Episode 1 and all the way up to, Empire and whatnot. He just
I always
super
thought
fast.
that, going back to like real time, going back to 1980, I thought Yoda looked that way because he was so old. Like, I thought he was a normal dude, and because he lived so long, he turned into Yoda. But I guess he was born like a Yoda. And correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I've always been under the impression that the world of Star Wars, including the extended universe, has made a point never to give a name to Yoda's species. So we have nothing to call this thing other than a Baby Yoda.
I called him Yertles. It just sounds right and feels like a Star Wars.
It's like you guys have never even heard of Yaddle.
Well, that's as close as I got. I'm like, that's the only other one that I'm aware of. So I was like, Yodels or something like that. I don't know. They all got Y's in common.
But am I wrong that that species or that race has never been given a name?
It has never been given a name.
So I'm in the right referring to it as Baby Yoda until we have something else.
That's kind of an interesting thought, really, when you think about how long Yoda has been around as a creature, and the fact that we don't have that information, and especially in the land of Star Wars, where 8 gajillion damn things that have absolutely nothing to do with anything are explored to the nth degree, but we don't even know what species he is. That seems weird.
Yaby.
and also, if this Baby Yoda is so important, why wasn't Palpatine looking for him? Why wasn't Darth Vader looking for him? Why wasn't Obi-Wan looking for him? Why wasn't Yoda looking for him? Like, I'm not liking that he's 50 years old. If he was 5 years old, I could go with it. But I know what they're doing. 50 years old, we got to roll with the punches.
But he's not, again, Bruce, he's not 50 Earth years old. He's 50 whatever his species is old,
They give us dates before and after the Battle of Yavin. I mean, they're telling us that he's 50. Like they have the date of birth for him. Like, that's what those last 4 numbers mean. And he goes, all I can tell you is he's 50. And I think that we're supposed to take that as, if this is 5 years after Return of the Jedi, then he is 10 times that distance in time. If the years are defined differently, they're still defined consistently.
Well, I mean, that's fine, but let's say for each of those 5 years is 10 years, a la like a dog, which is every year is essentially 7 years, then that it matches up.
I don't think so. I think if they're saying I don't take my dog to the vet and say he's 49. I say my dog is 7 years old, and the vet knows how to do the math. Where do you come down on this, Sean? I think this baby's been around for 50 Star Wars years.
Yeah, I believe it's 50 years.
Okay.
It's one of those things where, like, wow, because you hear about that all the time whenever it comes to Yoda or Yaddle or whomever, is that it's these are incredibly old creatures. It's one of the things about the species that you do know. It's brought up constantly.
But nothing specific, though. I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
I bet you something's going to be elaborated here.
Well,
maybe
yeah,
it was frozen in carbonite for 49 and a half years. Who knows?
I'll say this. If they ignore this and never come back to the Baby Yoda, then yeah, I think that there'll be a real big problem with that.
Well, yeah, he just delivers the baby to Grief, and then he gets a new bounty, and it's a new episode.
Ta-da! Like, that's it. That's all we got. What do you think? You wanted more from this character? No, we just came.
Like Have Gun Will Travel. They're all standalone. All right, number 18, Sean.
Number 18, were you relieved when the bounty was Baby Yoda and not someone like Chewbacca?
Is that it's not specifically Chewbacca for sure. I mean, as we said in the preview episode, I want to see no one who's had more than 3 lines in any Star Wars film ever. Give me everyone else. But man, if we'd had Chewbacca or, God forbid, C-3PO or something like that, man, it would have been.
That was my biggest fear, was that it would be someone that we've seen 1,000 times previously. I'm very glad it wasn't that.
But it drops another mystery on us with Baby Yoda, and again, that's all we'll call him because we can't call him anything else.
Baby Yoda might be the only person that it could be that I would have never even slightly guessed at. I mean, I don't care. Give me 10,000 guesses, and I'm just saying stuff like Lou Costello before I'm saying Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda. That's not a phrase that comes out of anyone's mouth because it doesn't make any sense. And also, at the same time, too, no one's talking about it. Let's go ahead for all intents and purposes, just because we've only got one person to really, well, 2 if you count Yaddle. And who knows what that's like. But we've got one guy to go through here. We think it's more or less Yoda's baby. Who's Yoda having sex with? Or does Yoda just give birth to, is he just like the male seahorse has the baby? Maybe Yoda has the baby. I don't know.
Palpatine and Yoda.
When he said there's another, was he talking about his kid? I don't know. Who's to say?
It's another Yoda.
Yeah, he just faded out, like the camera just faded out before he said Yoda. There's another Yoda. I got another one of these. I've been planting seeds all around Tatooine or wherever the fuck we are in this show.
Hey, the baby's mother is pure metachlorians. It's Yoda and metachlorians.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Anakin didn't have a father. Anakin didn't have a father. Baby Yoda doesn't have a mother.
I thought we kicked George Lucas out of this fucking franchise.
Oh, man. Language. This is going on 2 feet.
But then again, everybody... Oh, that's true. But then again, everyone at the same time, too, has... I forgot because I've just been warned about language and I totally forgot. We were doing this on 2 shows. Go ahead. What's the next
How
question?
about asking question 19? Adam, 19.
Okay, question 19. Nick Nolte and Taika Waititi do fantastic voice work in this episode. Do you think they'll be back? Because, one character got killed and the other one just kind of got left off like the end of Ghost Rider.
I think that Taika Waititi's coming back for sure.
I know he's directing an episode, so he's going to be around. Nick Nolte, I want Nick Nolte to come back more than Taika Waititi. So I don't know if he will come back, but I want him to.
That's fair.
Like a totally different character, just the same voice.
Just like, oh, hell.
Yeah, he's just the voice of every Ugnaught.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. More Ugnaughts, but the same voice. Oh,
Hey, all the clones had Jango Fett's voice, so, you never know.
It's not a question on our list here, but just for me, was that Ugnaught, was he on Tatooine? I mean, he's a moisture farmer, so are there other moisture farmer places?
There's got to be. I mean, if you're in a desert, you got to figure that there's got to be moisture farmers.
There is no supply of moisture in these deserts. It's ridiculous. You got to make your own. I mean, every time you just like, I'd like a little bit of moisture, please. No, time to go farming.
It looks like it's really easy to go from one planet to another in this galaxy, but it looks really hard to farm moisture. So I don't understand.
We've conquered interdimensional space flight at the speed of light and everything, yet we still can't get enough usable water out of this desert air. It's kind of astounding.
But no shortage of blue milk, so we're good there.
Oh, the blue milk is everywhere. You can't stop that.
All right, question 20. The Mandalorian, or Mandy for short, as we've established, gets a new pauldron this episode. Will he get completely new armor, one piece at a time, by the end of this show?
Yes.
So, pauldron. Now, for those of us that skipped Armory Day at school, what's that about?
Did you see when he got a new piece of armor put on his shoulder?
Yeah, the shoulder pad thing. I call that a shoulder pad.
It's also called a pauldron, but yes. In the show, they even say, you've earned a pauldron.
I thought it was cauldron. I screwed that one up, apparently. All right, fair enough.
Great. She gave him a big pot. She's like, job well done. Here's your cauldron.
It goes double, toil and trouble, if you forget. We wrote it on the back.
No foreshadowing or anything, but it perfectly fits a Baby Yoda.
We're having Baby Yoda soup for dinner. Oh, it's delicious. Bit of a delicacy.
Well, I think the new armor is going to look... What if he gets totally new armor and by the end he's Lady Phasma?
Hey, listen. Crazier things have happened on these shows. All right, number 21.
21. How long before Mandy keisters someone with the rifle fork thing?
I'm kind of surprised it didn't already happen.
I am too. That's why I think it's going to happen very soon too.
Yeah.
Will it be intentional or accidental?
No, I think that it'll be on purpose to show you how clever he is.
It's got to have an awesome sting to it and everything, just really getting in there. But I think that would be great. And I want to see more stuff like that because one of the cool things...
Darn near killed it, right?
Yeah, one of the early ones here also kind of ticked off a bucket list thing for me was a guy getting chopped up in the iris of that door. Oh, that was cool.
Yeah.
One of the sweetest scenes. And that happens early on, man. I love that.
I want more stuff like that. So yeah, if you want to see people getting stabbed through the neck with the little fork thing, I'm all about it.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about through the neck.
Wherever.
I'm talking about the keister. Yeah.
Oh, literally.
That's why I think it's like somebody stops suddenly when they're running away from one thing and the person in front of them stops suddenly. Let's just say Werner Herzog and he accidentally keisters him. That's what I want to see.
I have accidentally been penetrated. Oh, it's not nice. I don't know where the voice went. All right, number 22. Do you guys know? Did you guys know that you needed the railgun blasters in your life as much as I do?
Is that the big gun he takes over
Yes.
when he's fighting?
He jumps on
Yoda?
that. It's a big giant, like, kind of laser, Gatling gun or something like that. For the first 2 seconds, I thought, oh, this is so stupid. Why would you? That's just cool. That's just ridiculously cool. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
It was my son's favorite scene.
Doesn't make a lot of sense, but it is what you as a kid would do, is like put him on this and just mow them all down. It's so cool.
Used very well twice, because you have that moment and then you have the funny moment later when they're trying to break into the room, and they both just look at each other and then they look at the gun and then they shoot the door. It's pretty great.
Yeah. It's really setting the bar high for the follow-up episodes to have some great action set pieces. I have no doubt they'll be able to kind of keep that up, because this is a world where at any point cool stuff can happen.
Yeah. Yeah, they've set it up really well for that, haven't they?
Yeah. Question number 23. And this is one that really kind of bugged me. Did Mandy seem incompetent when he let that blurg sneak up on him? Because they don't seem stealthy to me.
No, it's got to be a big thing, but I will say this, and this was maybe a complaint that I had about kind of the CGI of that character, is that it seems super light, Like when it walked around, it didn't feel like it had the real proper heavy weight to it and everything. And again, I think that's because it's kind of a bipedal sort of thing, and they don't really know how to make it feel like it's got the proper weight or something. But at the same time, too, I don't know, maybe he just doesn't have good peripheral vision in that helmet there.
What do you think, Sean? I think it just kind of was inconsistent, though, to have him be the baddest bounty hunter on the planet. Everybody's heard of the reputation of the Mandalorians, and he does cool stuff in a couple of different fight scenes. But out there in the open, this big thing kind of comes up on him, no problem.
Yeah. Sorry, guys, I had to re-up on my coffee. I think that it is, It's a nice little thing, because it's showing you that he's not perfect, that the Mandalorian does make mistakes, that Mandy makes mistakes, which you need to show. There's nothing lamer than when you see Batman fight 50 guys and no one ever gets a punch in. It's one of the things that the animated series did really well. Mm-hmm. But I think that you have to have moments like that with this character, or the character is just going to seem always invincible, always.
And to me, it felt like a nice visual callback to episode 4 to Star Wars. When Luke's out there and he's looking through his goggles, and then right up on top of him is the Sandman.
Tusken Raider, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm old school. The original toy was called the Sandman.
Sand people, yeah.
Tusken Raiders when I go to Olive Garden and get that all-you-can-eat thing.
Well, we'll be having the Tusken Raiders this evening. Oh, excellent choice, sir. Unlimited breadsticks coming your way.
Question 24 is a wild card question, Sean. What do you got?
Question 24. In this episode, no one is Force sensitive or a Jedi. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
Oh, Baby Yoda's Force sensitive.
I hope he's not. I hope there's none of that. I mean, frankly, this is a Star Wars show, but the Star Wars universe does not, and I think should not, be solely identifiable through the lens of the Jedi. I like the idea of having complete stories that don't feature a single Jedi. We may get a Jedi or two in here, but I hope not. I hope ultimately that this is a show that just focuses on these characters and the types of adventures that these characters have, and don't really cross over with a lot of the mainstream stuff that we know, because here's the thing, we don't need that stuff.
And I mean, we didn't have anybody who was Force sensitive in Solo, right? Or at least not until the big surprise at the end kind of thing.
Right, not until we see the big surprise, right? The big
but boy, this would be a weird place for that big surprise at the end of Solo to show up. But I do like the idea. I mean, the whole point of what makes being Force sensitive special is that it doesn't happen every day. So I like the idea that you could travel quite a bit in the galaxy and not run across anybody who's Force sensitive, particularly after at least 2 of them were taken off the board 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, that's very specifically what I like about it, is that there's basically right now one guy who knows the Force at this point in the entire universe or galaxy,
And who
To be
knows
more
where
specific.
he's at, in this kind of timeline at that,
And then next episode, maybe a whole bunch of Palpatine clones show up.
No, I think they're saving Palpatine for something else. But
They are indeed.
yeah, but I like this whole idea. I mean, again, I just keep it on this ground level troop thing, and I don't even want to be frank. I don't even need to see that much space travel. To be quite honest, if you want to throw a little in there, that's okay, and maybe we're just use that as an excuse to visit another locale or something like that. That's perfectly fine. But I don't necessarily think we need all that, and certainly Jedis are not the way to pepper this up, at least for my taste.
Yeah, I agree.
And suddenly your main character, Mandy, the bounty hunter, maybe seems less cool if you've got some Force-sensitive characters showing up, too. So I like this.
Yeah,
Just
you
let it-
don't want to. Yeah, I never thought about actually, kind of crippling your main lead there and everything. And if a Jedi shows up, that's certainly in the eyes of majority of people that are looking at it, going like, "Oh, there's a Jedi over there." I mean, come on, I'm a bigger fan of the Jedi than I am of this bounty hunter.
But I do say that baby's got to be Force-sensitive, but it's a baby, too. So it doesn't matter.
I feel like it'll be a linchpin of some sort. I mean, you don't just you don't just deliver us a baby Yoda.
You don't pay cargo freighters full of Beskar steel for just a baby Yoda. I mean, there are collectors out there, I'm sure, but it's got to have something more.
How
to
much for this baby Yoda?
Question 25 goes to you, Adam.
What do you guys make of the score for this? It's a little bit. It's actually a bit different than I thought it would be.
It's pretty much what I thought it would be. How's it different to you? I mean, first off, I don't necessarily pay attention to the score like you do, Adam. But how was it different than you expected? I thought it felt like it came from 30 plus years of watching Star Wars stuff and set me up to expect.
Yeah, it sounds like the incidental music from Star Wars to me.
No, so I mean, there's definitely some regular Star Wars theme stuff in there, but this has a far more Rogue One kind of feel in it from time to time. There are certain kind of cues that are very much of that sort of. I can't remember off the top of my head who did the score for that, and it really kind of ticks me off. But there was I felt a little Rogue One in there, as well as kind of more legacy Star Wars type score as well. But I love it. I love what they're doing. It gives that Star Wars, but there is that kind of a Western-y feel in there as well, and I think that's being invoked pretty well. But again, I'm maybe I'm a little over analytical of these things.
As long as it's not like chock full of pop songs like Guardians from the Galaxy, I don't think it's going to be jarring to me. If it's just
here's holding on for a hero.
They find Baby Yoda and it's oop, there it is.
Oh Lord! And then he just does a big rap or a dance or something like that. That's all the ways to ruin this show.
No good comes from any of that.
No.
Yeah, so I thought just cinematic orchestral score, that's all the same to me. I don't have the ear for music to tell the difference between one orchestral cinematic score and another, really. Unless you start doing, the bois and stuff like were real big a few years back.
That's fair.
Question number 26, and this one's important to me. Do you guys think we can get riding the blurg to become a popular phrase in everyday life? Like if you had a tough day at work at quitting time, you'd say, I really rode the blurg this shift, or traffic's bad. Hey, family, we're really riding the blurg on Highway 64 right now.
Sean, if I may, Bruce, stop trying to
Please,
make blurg happen.
And then I'll put my 2 bits in.
Please stop trying to make blurg happen.
What was that, Adam?
It's not going to happen. Blurg will never happen. It's not going to. Quit trying to force it down our throats.
But when
George
he says,
Lucas tried this about 20 years ago with Wizard.
what do you mean?
He has one of the kids go, "Wow, that's Wizard," in episode 1, and it is so shoehorned into it that it's just like, oh, George, no one's going to say Wizard in their real life. Although, because it was so bad, smash cut to 10 years later, give it a 3 Mississippi, people start using Wizard in real life because it's just sarcastic enough where like, oh man, that's Wizard.
I just picture driving down the road, seeing somebody like with a flat tire beside the road.
Yeah, know your audience, man. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen.
Pull over, roll down the window, and say,
you're still not listening. You don't know your audience. You're going to try to. You're still trying to muscle that in. It's not going to work.
I have spoken.
Yes, you have.
He speaks a lot. Sean, we're on to you.
Okay, so because I used this one the last time, I'll use a different one now. The Mandalorian blacksmith is a lady. You think we're going to learn more about her in future episodes?
First off, I love her helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're bound to at this point. But the helmet's actually kind of interesting. I think I like his amount of vision better than hers. Seems like she's got a real problem there.
She's not fighting anybody. She's banging a hammer, But here's a question. I don't know how familiar you guys are with G1 Transformers, but the first thing I thought when I saw that helmet was Bumblebee. Like
that's interesting.
Yeah, the cartoon version of Bumblebee, not the movie version.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it looks very much like cartoon Bumblebee.
Oh, man, if this lady transforms and takes off, I'm going to have a cow. It's going to be great.
Yeah, there was a whole thread on Reddit about how somebody thought it was about a man who turns into a DeLorean when they saw the name of the show.
I really wanted that DeLorean show, but, too much cocaine.
They made that show. It's called Turbo Teen.
Yeah, only this one, he's a DeLorean who can travel through time. Automan, the DeLorean edition.
All right, on to 27 here. Or excuse me, 28 rather. Pardon me. Excuse me. I don't know how to count. With only this pilot as your guide, where do you think this season's going to go?
Well,
do you mind if I go first here?
Please go.
I think that it's inevitable that we're going to run into First Order. Just because it's about the right time. They're in the Outer Rim. They're in deep space at this point. So I think that we're going to have to run into someone. Whether it's, like the man, I can't remember the character's name now, but there's his father, the other guy who runs the First Order, because it's Kylo, and then there's the other guy.
Snoke. Are you talking about Snoke?
No, the redhead.
Brendan Gleeson's character.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry. I thought you were talking about Snoke for a moment.
I forget what his. Oh God, Donald.
His father is largely responsible for getting all the troops together for the First Order. I think it's inevitable that we run into him during this season. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking when we meet Werner Herzog with some. The stormtroopers are more or less hiding out because they've lost so much at this point. I kind of feel like what he's doing is trying to gather resources for the First Order, even if that's not exactly what it's called. And I think we're going to do. I mean, I'm trying to think what are the reasons for this. And I think in comic book terms, you always set the comic either right before or right after the movie, and it's to bridge a gap and to give us a little extra. And I think it's going to probably work twofold. I mean, we saw a little flashback and how he was a foundling, so we're going to look into like a Mandalorian civil war or whatever was going on in Mandalore when Mandy was a youngster and what caused Mandy to become a foundling. And then we're going to look forward to where the roots of the First Order are being laid down. And something's got to happen with this Baby Yoda, but I don't know what, because there's no like Baby Yoda in the follow-up movies and there's no Baby Yoda in the movies before. So I'm hoping they haven't put themselves in a corner by introducing this Baby Yoda that you can't suddenly in episode 9 say, oh yeah, plus this Baby Yoda was around the whole time during 7 and 8. We just didn't mention it.
Yeah, that's true.
I do like Werner Herzog kind of being the seed, maybe not the guy who starts it, or you were right, Bruce, maybe not says the word First Order outright and anything like that, but it would be that seed that would plant to start the First Order and everything like that. I think that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, he's like the Nazi guy hiding in Argentina that thinks the Third Reich's going to be rebuilt in South America. That's kind of who this guy is at this point.
That is a lot. That is really what it feels like. That he's trying to marshal a force together.
But I mean, and again, it's one of those things that you don't hire Werner Herzog unless you're going to do something and something kind of important with him. And nor do I think he would take a role unless they were doing something. You know what I mean?
Right.
All right, on to question 29, Bruce.
Do you think Dengar will get his own show or just show up in this one?
I know where Dengar is right now.
Okay.
Dengar goes through a tough time. It's in one of the books, one of the new canon books.
Oh, the new canon books. Okay. I was going to say, because everything I know about him would be from old canon that doesn't apply anymore.
He becomes a drunk and overweight and a joke, and he gets together with the Rancor Pit master, and they build a business together, and he slowly becomes Dengar again, like the Dengar that we know from Empire Strikes Back and from the old EU. And so that's basically where he is right now. He's in the middle of nowhere, like building out a Rancor business with the Rancor Pit master.
Now, in the old EU, there was a story for everything. Like if there was 10 seconds in the background of a guy who's only wearing one shoe, like he has one shoe on and one barefoot, then there would be a short story explaining how he lost his shoe that day. You know what I mean?
Will there be a planet where the entire race only wears one shoe? And
it could also be the sillier stories, though. That's like how some silly way that he lost his shoe that day.
Mm-hmm.
And like there was like the silly EU story about a guy named Manny Bothans who stole the plans and died. Like rather than the race Bothans, it was a guy named Manny Bothans. And I feel like I read one of those silly stories. It was like how he hit his head on his way to the bounty hunter meeting, and he's embarrassed because he has to show up with that head wrap on, like it's a bandage. And that was a funny story, but I don't think it's canon anymore.
Yeah, it's not canon anymore.
But Dengar, I think, like if you were saying Bosk was the coolest bounty hunter, Dengar was the lamest, I always thought. Nobody wanted a Dengar figure, so I like the idea of Dengar showing up and getting some street cred here.
Yeah, I think that 4 Lam will give you a run for your money too when it comes to like lame bounty hunters. But yes, I agree.
And question 30 goes to you, Sean.
Question 30. There's a lot of famous cameos in the pilot. Who would you like to see in upcoming episodes?
It's hard for me to imagine that Patton Oswalt doesn't have something in an upcoming episode.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not done anything in 7 or 8, right?
No, not well.
No,
he made maybe a voice or something somewhere. Maybe I don't know.
See, I don't think he's done anything. So
Maybe
I
not.
don't either.
Maybe
and
not.
I think he's the person that deserves it. Especially Brian Posehn's already been in here. It's hard for me to think who deserves it more than Patton Oswalt.
I don't know. Deserves is the right word I'd use, but I'm sure he would enjoy it, and I would enjoy him in there. I don't deserves like who does anyone deserve? I don't know. That seems like a weird word to use. I will tell you this. Mine is only from it's personal, but hear me out. Emmanuel Lewis. I mean, he's a little guy, so we can dress him up in all kinds of stuff, make him funky space, and let's be honest. We got Carl. We got an amazing performance out of Carl Weathers this week. Who's to say you can't take Emmanuel Lewis and make him fantastic?
And also, nobody believes that Emmanuel Lewis looks 50, but he is.
Yeah,
Emmanuel Lewis, Baby Yoda, same size, same height.
The difference is here that Carl Weathers. Carl Weathers.
That was the fastest cameo I ever seen.
Carl Weathers is also a very, very, very good actor. Whereas Emmanuel Lewis is a novelty.
Yet to be proven.
The reason why I asked this question is because I not only would I like to see someone in this show do a cameo, but I even know the character that I want him to play. And that character, that actor is Nathan Fillion. I would love to see him in this show.
Oh, I think the world would like that.
And I would love to see him play Dash Rendar. Dash Rendar is the main character of Shadows of the Empire, the Nintendo 64 game. and he's basically Han Solo, but he's not Han Solo. I mean, it's the same guy, but it's not the same guy. I mean, like I can't remember what the name of his ship is, but to call it the Millennium Falcon wouldn't be too far off. I mean, it's like that close. And so I would love to see Nathan Fillion in the show. I would love to see him as Dash Rendar. I would like to see him be cheesy. I would like to see him be way too much. I think he would be great.
Sean, I don't know. Have you kept up with the comics, the Marvel Star Wars comics, the last?
I stopped a while ago, but I started around the Rebel jail. Like that's about the time that that's the time I ended, where they had.
I probably ended around that time. I ended about the time of the Dr. Aphra standalone miniseries.
Yeah,
is Dr. Aphra still up to good stuff in the comics? Do you have any idea? Like she hasn't died or anything?
I know she hasn't died, but I don't know the answer to that.
And like I don't know who would be the actress to play the part, but I feel like if First Order's getting fired up, maybe you have a little Dr. Aphra in this series somewhere, like a totally new character in terms of live action, and it's like the new EU. So I don't know. I might be interested in that.
I think an Ellen Page as Dr. Aphra would be great.
Yeah, I could go for that.
I want to see Helen Mirren in something. I don't know. I just think she'd be cool in a Star Wars.
Add some class to this joint.
Finally, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, was it Peter Cushing? He looked good the last time I saw him.
that last time in Rogue One, he looked fantastic. Golly bum. Yeah. You wouldn't say he aged today. But that is it, everybody. That does it for our first official episode of Mandalorian 30 Questions. Remember, if you'd like a question to be considered for the show, tweet us at Mandalorian30Q on Twitter or email us at Mandalorian30Q@gmail.com. Bruce, is there anywhere else where people might be able to find your work on the internet this week?
You can check out a podcast that I do and let other people join sometimes. It's called Hero Movie Podcast.
Oh, go on.
Yes, you can find it anywhere that you can type the letters H, M, and P, and in return get a podcast where we talk about movies and stuff.
Huh.
And relate everything back to Sylvester Stallone. Who else does that? No one. And for good reason, because they're not as good as we are. Sean, if people like the format of this show, what with the 30 questions and whatnot, where could they get more of this action?
You can find us at the Redford Administration, which is our Watchmen podcast. It's weekly, and we weekly ask 30 questions about the recent episode of Watchmen. And I'm just going to say it. It's pretty good. It's pretty good, guys. Also, I want to thank Matthew Van Diver for his email. We still have not read your email. I'm sorry, Matthew. We will read it on HMP this week.
Absolutely. And now our next episode will be released on Monday, and then every Monday after that, as this is the first episode here, and our next episode is out on a Friday, which is super good because I really want more of this Mandalorian action as soon as we possibly can. So our next episode will be releasing on Monday, and then every Monday thereafter during this Mandalorian season. So do us a favor, everybody. Just go out in there and rate it and review us on iTunes. We'd really appreciate that, and we appreciate all of you for listening. So this is the Mandalorian, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. For Sean Kovacs, I'm Adam Portrais, reminding you bounty hunters that he's no good to me dead. All right, everybody, that was our episode of Mandalorian, but you didn't think we were done yet, did you? Oh, no. There's slightly bit more onto our content here because we do have to ask ourselves one of the most important questions. That's right, you didn't think we were going to forget it. Sean, how does this television show relate to Sylvester Stallone?
Thank you, Adam. I have no prepared statement.
We call it a semi-prepared statement where I'm come from if you do it like that.
So I thank the good Lord above for the fact that a couple years ago a movie came out called The Zookeeper. Because when that movie comes out, all the people that Stallone had never worked with before all worked on the same show. Like Rosario Dawson, that saved me when it came to any of the Marvel Netflix series. If you guys remember, there was a whole lot of Zookeeper references when those were coming around.
We've done more to prop up that movie.
And I'm pulling that one out again because guess who also worked on the Zookeeper? None other than Nick Nolte as Bernie the gorilla.
I'm a gorilla. Oh, I like bananas, guys. Come on.
I would guess that he's a lot more swarthy than that.
That's
and
true.
Probably has like some sort of weird, like he's a kind of like he probably gets drunk. I don't know. I've never seen a zookeeper. I'm just guessing.
That gorilla got into the Mickey's Big Mouth. He's going to town on it.
Did you just pull that out of nowhere, Mickey's Big Mouth?
That's what he drinks, I'm pretty sure.
Because I had not seen a Mickey's Big Mouth in probably like 20 years. And the other day I'm hanging, I'm in this location that is terrible, and I need to leave it immediately. And the guy who owns the place has a box full of empty Mickey Big Mouths. I was like, oh wow, I haven't seen one of those in 20 years. That guy's got to be hurting today.
Like the hand grenades.
Yeah, like
oh, I love the bottle more than the contents.
Well, of course you do.
The contents are awful.
But when in Rome, Mickey's Big Mouth it is.
It was House of Pain's preferred malt liquor.
But there is your Stallone connection this week. Is Nick Nolte in The Zookeeper worked with Sylvester Stallone, who was also in The Zookeeper.
Come on, everybody. Where else are you going to get some of this? So we appreciate that, Sean. Thank you. And Bruce, we're good with you. That's okay. No, but we thank you guys again for joining us in this episode. And if you did like this episode of Mandalorian 30 Questions, just look up Mandalorian 30 Questions in your podcast player of choice and download it. Give us a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger.
We'd really appreciate that. And, thank you to all of those of you who actually have. We've been up in the top 150 of iTunes TV and film for some time now, and I believe that is absolutely thanks to supporters over at Patreon, our Patreon supporters, because those guys follow us everywhere, and, of course, you guys and stuff following us over there as well. If you haven't yet done that, hopefully this episode convinced you to do so. That's it. Join us next week for our Patreon vote for Sean Kovacs, Bruce Leslie. I'm Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.